I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring it into this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine? That you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling.
My entire point to showing this is just to say, I wish somebody could get Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds in a room and get them to listen to this type of talk. Sorry, Neil, I didn't mean to put your comment up there. Yeah, somebody needs to tell Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds that your cards are not very good. You're not holding very good cards right now. Oh man, I know war is not a funny matter, but and I don't even pretend to understand what should be going on here. I've supported Tulsi Gabbard over the last several years and her contrarian remarks about the Ukraine-Russia situation, and I got in a little bit of trouble when I had one of my Hungarian viewers come on, and she had very strong opinions about the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, and felt like there was a lot that Western media had not been telling us, and that a lot of Americans don't know about some bullshit that's been going on in Ukraine, and that there was another side to this whole thing, right? And so I had her on my show just as a contrarian viewpoint, and we did like an hour and a half long conversation where she mostly just told me a lot of stuff that I didn't know or I'd heard about but wasn't really clear on. And anyway, got a whole bunch of shit from people for that. How dare you? You're supporting Putin. You're supporting Russia, even though neither of us ever said any such thing. And we both said that we disagreed very much with what Putin has done, think the war is terrible, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, so it is interesting to see this happening here. And my read of this is that, look, I'm not a politics person as much as I am an entertainment person in terms of what I like to talk about. Hollywood is more my bag to speculate on than the Oval Office. But I do some political videos sometimes, and I've been on Tim Pool. And I think it's pretty clear that what's going on is we're going to end up giving this guy money. We are the Trump and the others can talk a really good game, and I appreciate that they are, and I appreciate that there are a lot of people questioning this, and I don't think we do have the money to be giving them or whatever, but we're going to continue to give them money. But just like, you know, if you're the parents of a teenager and that teenager has been getting into some trouble, and then they ask you if they can borrow your car or have some money or something, you're not going to give it to them without first giving them a lecture. And so I think that's a lot of what was going on here. But also it's important to remember there was like a 40-minute lead up to this, 40-minute lead up to this, I believe, where they were doing a press conference and Zelensky was talking and they were talking. And so this also taken out of context, you know, you just look at this one moment and it's kind of like, well, what the hell? But within the context of the things he had been talking about in the larger conversation, you see what they're irritated about here. But anyway, this is beyond the scope of my knowledge and understanding here to get into the particulars of this and what they're discussing. But I do wish that someone could sit Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds down and speak to them one more time, speak to them like this.
problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly
Remember
what
this.
you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're going to feel very
you will
good.
Feel influenced.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and very strong.
You will feel influenced.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now.
Again, y'all, I'm not saying this is like good or whatever. I don't want to wade into that, but it is definite. It is definite political theater. And I wish someone would tell Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds this exactly. You're not in a good position. You don't have very good cards right now, because I don't know if they really fully got this, if Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds fully got the magnitude of what they brought on themselves and the position that they're in. I think if they truly got it, they might rethink with their strategy. But as you all know, it seems like the news today is that they are doubling down. And I'm a little bit casual right now. I'm about to get ready for work, actually. So I just have on a t-shirt. But I was on Zach Peters' show for the first time. As you know, he's one of the big sources for Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds stuff. His show, he regularly collaborates with Donna Bowling. And he also had Ari on. So it was a great roundtable. Look it up. I also posted it on my YouTube page under the community post. But anyway, talked to them for a long time today. But the news today is that Blake Lively has hired, apparently, Team Lively Reynolds has hired a PR guy who is former CIA, like former deputy director of the CIA, I believe. I'm going to make sure I'm right on this story. Yes, Blake Lively hires CIA alum for crisis PR and legal battle with Justin Baldoni. We talked about this just a bit on Zach's show. It says Blake Lively has hired a PR crisis manager with deep government ties as her legal battle with Justin Baldoni escalates. The actress who is suing and being sued by her, It Ends With Us director and co-star, is quietly working, well, it's not too quiet if we're hearing about it in Variety, quietly working with Nick Shapiro, the CIA's former deputy chief of staff, okay, gotcha, and senior advisor to former director John Brennan. Look, I think that Ari Jacob, my friend, not Ari Emanuel, Ari Jacob asked earlier in the show if we thought that this was leaked intentionally by Team Lively Reynolds to intimidate people. And it very much might be that perhaps some of us would see CIA and go, ooh, but it's going to take a lot more than that to scare off the content creators and the public and Candace Owens, frankly, who are obsessed with this. And I'm going to get off in a little while, have to go to work. And also, I don't like going up against Candace Owens time-wise because I know I will lose. And my apologies, by the way, to Pop Culture Crisis. I see some of you in my chat here. And I normally don't like to go up against them either because I lose in that proposition as well. But today, because I was doing Zach's show, I had to push this back. And that happens occasionally. It happened earlier when I was traveling. But I'm going to try, for the most part, when I can, to aim for what? 2? Yeah, 2 Eastern. So anyways. But I think what's going on here, they might be trying to scare content creators or scare someone or maybe intimidate the media. And I'm not really sure if they're leaking this, why. But honestly, it's going to take, I think, a lot more than even some CIA stuff to get Blake Lively out of this. And honestly, CIA former deputy chief of staff, that's a little bit different than like deputy CIA. That's a long story. But anyway, I think this looks more intimidating, honestly, on the surface than it actually is. And here's my thing that I will continue to say about crisis PR people. And no offense to Ms. Abel or Ms. Nathan or anyone who's working for Justin Baldoni. This is not like a slight at you in particular, but just some of the experience that I've had over the years, knowing some crisis PR people as I've covered these things or watching them work or observing them work, is that they just do so much less, or they have such less impact than people actually think that they do. Most of the time, what runs these stories and what runs public reaction is organic public feeling. And you just can't manufacture the kind of interest that you got during Depp versus Heard and the kind of zeal and dedication that you had among Justice for Johnny Depp people. And they can blame that on Prince Mohammed bin Salman and bots and on all of this. And, oh, you're just paid PR or whatever. But that just doesn't happen, honestly. And I know the biggest content creators in this business, so to speak. And I can just tell you that none of them are in league with or being paid by anyone, by any celebrity or any celebrity's PR legal team. Like, it's just, that's a fantasy. It's not happening. And what generally happens is that actually these PR people, what I've observed is that they take a hell of a lot of money in high fees from celebrities who are desperate and who trust them. And again, not talking about the Baldoni peeps here, because I respect them and what it seems like they've been through and everything, and how they're sticking with this guy and how they're suing back and they're in this fight. But just in general, it seems like a lot of these crisis PR people take a lot of money and they give a kind of emotional assurance to their clients that someone who knows something about media is now going to be fighting for them. But really, they just can't have much effect. And so my point being that Mr. CIA can have at it and he can take his best shot, metaphorically speaking, but I think it's going to take like a miracle. It's going to take like God, I think. Now, that's not to say that I don't see some dangers for Justin Baldoni with this along the way. Life is completely unpredictable. As my mom always says, you never know what a live thing is going to do. And who knows, but in some way, this might be, I'm not saying he's going to lose or some horrible thing's going to come out about Baldoni, like he's got 5 mistresses and 5 psychiatrists, but I'm just saying, you never know how things are going to go. This is stressful anyway. It's stressful for the people around him, etc. And as I talked about with the PR consultant the other day, there is also a concern, I think, that he gets so closely identified with this mess, this circus, for so long that it gets in the way of him later being able to be considered a serious artist. But again, I'm not trying to be negative, and I think this is going to end up being a net gain for Baldoni and maybe even like the key to his future success, but we'll see. Anyways, I'm not worried about the CIA guy, but we did have an interesting exchange today on Zach's show, and you can go watch the whole thing yourself. But there was one part in particular, I might even make a separate video about it. And by the way, thanks. I see your super chat, girl. I'll talk to you in a minute. I am going to talk about what I teased with, by the way, which is how the hell I got my hands on the leaked Ari Emanuel audio. So give me like about 5-10 minutes. We'll get to that. But I did want to show this one part from Zach's show. One second. By the way, if you're not following Zach Peter, and if you're not subscribed to him on YouTube, he actually has fewer subscribers than I do just because he wasn't doing Depp Heard back in the day and when I got most of mine loaded up. But he's on YouTube. Find him, follow him, and you can get more content like this. But give me 1 second here, get this pulled up. Oh, I'm sorry. You're not seeing what I'm seeing. Give me 1 second. I thought you were seeing what I was seeing. I'm not great with this, like I said. Okay, I'm bringing it up. This is a bit of our conversation today. I think you'll find this relevant. CIA, is that it has finally hit home over there at Team Lively Reynolds that they are in really, really deep shit. Yeah. And so to bring someone like this on who is familiar with doing like serious warfare and serious covert shit too. I mean, CIA, they staged coups and thwarted elections and things like that. So I think that people over at Team Lively Reynolds have realized that it's going to take a miracle, honestly, to bring to help all of them out at this point to solve this problem. But I think they realize it's time to literally bring in the big guns here.
Do you think that they put that out, or like, because if I was a crisis PR person, like, I wouldn't want to be outwardly. Do you think somebody just found out that he got hired, or that they said it? Because I feel like these people are really secretive if they don't want to be tied to it. Like, it's just weird to me.
Do you think they would want to put it out there as like to intimidate people?
Yeah.
Maybe.
You guys, Shapiro, this man that they hired, launched crisis PR firm 10th Avenue Consulting. This is his bio. He helped lead the Obama administration's response to H1N1 pandemic, Sandy Hook elementary school shooting, the Gulf oil spill, Boston Marathon bombing, the Japan earthquake, tsunami and Fukushima nuclear disaster, cyber attacks, data breaches, wildfires, floods, hurricanes, and Blake Lively.
That's
Wow.
insane. But
Wow.
also shows the money that they have and that they're willing to put into this to bury this dude.
I wonder if
Like,
they're gonna
that's
start coming for creators. Like, I don't know.
They will.
Scary.
Yeah, I mean,
I already told Donna, though, I go, listen, we have too many different platforms and channels, and we're all kind of united and standing together, that if they come for one of us, they come for all of us. And unfortunately, we have the public that's on our side that will ride for us. Like, we're just doing our jobs in covering this. I'm sorry you don't like the way that the narrative is shifting, but you started this, you know.
That's so cool, though, about like everybody on this panel and then all the other people too that we're friends with. I feel like it's like all ships rise together in this. Like, we're not like being catty towards one another. We're all like being friends. I feel like that's like something really cool about this case and the Johnny Depp stuff. It's like people like a good underdog story, and they like people that follow the truth. And so,
Yeah.
But how can this PR man, Shapiro, what can he do? I don't know the world of PR that well.
You can go watch the rest of it yourself if you want to. But I think that one point that's really important here that we're making is that this is a story that has such a profound public appetite. And it's more than just a few content creators. And as Zach later pointed out, and you've got just tons of people who don't have a brand or who are not trying to even establish themselves as anything on social media, but who are still involved in tweeting and retweeting and on TikTok and everything. That if you were to take out all the content creators in some weird way, Mr. CIA man was to round us up and put us in detention or something, immediately you would still have a bunch of people moving in to fill the vacuum. And this thing, as this continues, it's just going to spawn more and more content creators. And that's what we saw with Depp versus Heard, is that thing had several years to really get ginned up. And there were a ton of people like me who were not following it in the first year or the second year or the third year, but then came on, in my case, a year before the trial, others coming on right before the trial or whatever. So by the time this reaches whatever kind of finish line it's going to have to reach, I guess in a trial, if Blake Lively doesn't settle to Justin Baldoni's terms, this is going to have picked up a ton of steam. Okay, now I want to talk about before we leave for Candace to come on, I wanted to talk about the Ari Emanuel leak. So if you check the latest video that I did before this one that I put up last night, so as a lot of people know, Ari Emanuel, head of WME, it had been said by witnesses and been reported by the Hollywood Reporter that he had made some disparaging remarks about Justin Baldoni and had called him Baldoni, and also that he had, most importantly, admitted to one of the primary claims of Justin Baldoni's lawsuit, which is that Ari Emanuel and WME fired Justin Baldoni, because they were his agency, fired him at the behest of Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively to make them happy. And Ari he admitted that, and that was reported. Now, because this was reported, but it was word of mouth only, there were a number of us that were eagerly awaiting the Freakonomics podcast episode, because these remarks had been given at a live taping in LA before an audience, a live taping of a Freakonomics podcast. And so this thing was taped, and then someone in the audience reported to someone, the journalist, and then it was reported what Ari Emanuel had said, but we were all waiting for the podcast. Well, several days ago, almost a week ago, and I described this in the video in more detail, the host of the podcast came out and announced that something had happened that had never happened in his history, his professional history in the media, and had never happened on that podcast in all of its history. Do you want to know what happened to the Ari Emanuel interview? They didn't record it. They forgot to hit the record button or some such nonsense. And he talked about this and said, oh, and suddenly my editor came to me after the interview, and she was shaking or something like that. And she said they didn't record it. So guess what? I guess it's just a fluke, right? That just this one time that you have the most powerful man, arguably in the entertainment industry, who made a colossal mistake in front of an audience, put his foot in his mouth or miscalculated and incriminated himself legally and his clients, and also made a remark that could be interpreted as racially disparaging toward Baldoni. These things all happen, and you just happen to basically lose the file. So it looked like it was lost. It looked like Baldoni's team would never have evidence of this because it was going to, I think it was could have been a key piece of evidence. They were never going to have this. And also, you know, if people don't see it or hear it, then they tend to discount it more. Well, fast forward to just yesterday, I got wind of the fact that the freaking I didn't even know this at the time. I wasn't paying close attention, but someone told me, you know, that they claimed that they lost that, right? So I started looking into it, was outraged, tweeted about it. And then this individual who goes by Citizen Justice Online, and thank you for the super chat, ma'am, as well. But Citizen Justice Online, what's the actual handle? Is it Citizen Justice 24 or 26? Put it in the chat, or maybe one of the mods can find you online if you haven't already. Mods are always way ahead of me, but see if you can find Citizen Justice Online and then put their link here in the chat. Anyway, point is, this person said to me, well, I tracked down that reporter who was supposedly there because someone had said that there was a reporter there who'd gotten on their iPhone, etc., just sitting in their lap, right? So I tracked this person down. Maybe you should contact this person and see if they'll let you have it. And so that's exactly what happened. And I don't want to name who the person is who gave this to me. It was a reporter for a major newspaper, huge newspaper. You'd all recognize it. And I don't know why they were willing to give it to me. Because they didn't get anything out of it. And I'm not even sure that I'm politically aligned with them or they would even like what's going on my channel, honestly. But they, who knows? I'm going to check out their work from here on, actually. I'm curious. But they gave it to me. And it's funny because I kept waiting for the thing to fall through because it was such a huge thing to me, a huge deal. I mean, even Candace Owens, no offense to her, but she didn't have her hands on this, right? And so I'm always happy to help, but I was like, this is huge. And so there was the space of like 20 minutes in between when this reporter told me they had this and they would give it to me to when they actually gave it to me. And they would message me every now and then and say, oh, I'm working on it, or just a little more time or whatever, because they were busy or whatever. And it was a long story transmitting this thing. But I kept thinking, every time I heard from them or it got a little later, I was like, oh, they're going to back out. Oh, they're going to back out, right? Or they're going to realize they've got something here that they could send to Candace or even the Daily Mail or whatever, and not me. So I was really happy to get it. And CJ, thank you so much for that and for the super chat here. So did we get that link? I should look it up myself, actually. I can. Sometimes there's a delay too in, here we go. As you know, I've got the link. There's a delay. It is it's C Journalist 24, and I'm going to put the link right here. So look her up. She really is the best source online for this stuff because she's able to get in the weeds in ways that I can't. I'm just too busy, or it takes a lot of time actually putting these shows together and all that. So she reminds me a lot, I'll say this, of like Laura B on the Depp versus Heard situation. Not the Laura B in the chat, but y'all know the real Laura B. Reminds me of her, or the Marilyn Manson cases, who does such great work over in Marilyn Manson world. So anyway, thank you, girl. I did see one more super chat. Here we go. And thank you. I'm not going to say your last name unless you want me to, but thank you, Michelle, for the PayPal. Let me see if you said anything. Anyone wants to send anything via PayPal, you can write a message in the notes area, and I will read it if you want. Thank you so much for all the great content. Thank you so much. Rainy Day Sprite, Blake is a disaster worthy of CIA interventions. Man, don't I agree with you. Okay, I think that's everybody that I got there. So thank you so much. Thank you to my mods, Vanessa V, Rebel Bird, Laura B, and AJ. And this is short because I know you're going to go on over to Candace. So you got time. You got like 4 minutes, actually. Thank y'all so much. And yeah, I will see you later. Bye.